Hello and welcome to Northwest Knitting. My name is Kathy and I'm in Eugene, Oregon. This is my knitting podcast where I like to talk about my knitting projects, yarn that I love, and my efforts to create sustainable clothing. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Friday, November 17th. I always forget to say the date, and I think it's on the in the show notes down below where everything else will be. But it just brings home to me, knowing the date today, it's hard to believe how fast things are moving towards the end of the year. Oh my gosh, well, so much has happened since I last talked to you. I got to go to, okay, the good part is I got to go to a fiber festival called Sacred Sheep in Portland, Oregon. And it was really done beautifully. I think Ritual Dyes were the that is a beautiful yarn store in Portland, and they were the movers on this and organizers. They had some wonderful vendors, and it was really a great thing to attend. I was able to go with my friend Alicia, and we had a grand old time, and after it was over, we came home and she spun and I knit. So we didn't have our fill of fiber by the time we left. For me, the most fun part was seeing people as usual. And as we came up, you had to have tickets in advance to get in at the noon starting time. And so there was quite a line waiting for it to open. And it went around the block almost, not quite, but about halfway around the block. And what I loved is walking down the line and seeing person after person wearing a knitted object, many, many sweaters. So that was so much fun. The other thing that they did, I'm going to just adjust this ever so slightly. The other thing they did is there were two people who had sheep that they brought down the line, and they were, I think they're called the Valnois, anyway, the black face. So you can't see anything except their black face, and then they have some black knees, and they were adorable. So between having all the lovely people to talk to and the sheep, that line went lickety split, and before we knew it, we were in there. So anyway, that was a great event. I did not buy very much. Partly because a lot of what I saw that I was really drawn to, I have something similar, and I was uncharacteristically self-controlled, but I did find, and there was quite a bit of superwash yarn, and when I finally realized, oh, maybe I should be looking for my granddaughters, I did come upon this really pretty yarn. Doesn't that look cute for a 3-year-old? And it is by Kindred Red. And it's called Rad DK in the crystalline colorway. So that's fun, and that I plan to do a very simple raglan sweater for that, but here it is, wound up, not wound up, really pretty. I did have some a little bit of adversity in life in the last month. Someone very dear to me was in the hospital for 4 nights, and you know, if you've ever sat in the hospital with somebody or waiting for somebody, you know how that can be. And that set me on a completely different knitting path, actually, which I'll tell about in a minute. And then also I had a period of, I tested positive for COVID, and fortunately, I've had it before and I'm fully vaccinated, but so I had almost no symptoms. So that was fantastic. But then there was the very annoying masking, and made more difficult with trying to protect people close to me. And anyway, I am totally fine. The person in the hospital is totally back to normal. Everything's lovely. And we're looking forward to the holidays coming, and hoping, just hoping, holding my breath, hoping that my family all stay healthy so they can come without any problem. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. We had such a beautiful fall. I do feel that I missed some of it because of all that hullabaloo, but we just had gorgeous colors in the leaves, and it was really nice. But now most of it's, there's a little bit left, but most of it is gone, and it is getting a little colder. So what I'm going to talk about today is, I'll tell you what I'm wearing. I have one small finished object, and then I have two very exciting whips that I want to talk about. And both are color. And I think some of the grimness that happened in the last month came out in me looking for color. So I'll show you those. And as part of my, so one of the whips is my Alpine Bloom. I'm going to talk about using the Jamieson and Smith 2-ply fingering cone that I have. And then after that, I'm pretty sure I have a book recommendation for you. So anyway, grab a cup of tea or coffee. I'm having some Blue Lotus chai in my Fiesta ware, which goes with everything around here. And I hope you'll find something of interest here today. So, okay, my first finished object, you've seen another one before. This is my baby sweater called the Sorgenfri Foldover Jacket. So here, the last one I showed you last week was in ochre, and this one is light copper. This is the yarn is Sandnesgarn Smart, which is a washable wool. Feels a little more woolly than a lot of the hand-dyed sock yarns. Well, the sock yarns, obviously, because those usually have nylon, but this is 100% wool, and it has a pretty good feel to it. It is the pattern is by Indigo, and you can find me, of course, on Instagram and on Ravelry as Northwest Knitting, and I will have information about this. So I've showed it to you before. It's a really fun textured design with the lovely edges that she does, and I really enjoyed it. I think it makes a fabulous project. It was more time consuming than the average baby sweater, so I will wrap these up and probably finish them. I do need to put buttons on here, and I think I'm going to have to, I've looked at a couple different colors. I thought about a light blue, but I think I don't have enough of it, and so it might be kind of an off-white instead, but I might have to head to the store because everything is just not hitting me right. So you know how that is. So there's that. So that I'm just really happy to have finished. I should tell you what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Lento sweater by Jonna. It looks to me like Heitala, but I'm not totally positive about that. And it is a basic top-down raglan. I've showed it before. I have a whole episode about it, so I'll put the link to that below. But it's just an this was designed to be a folded over, doubled over collar, and that was my biggest modification. Is I just went with the ribbing and just an ordinary, fairly ordinary, but I have to say this I think fits me better than most sweaters I've had. So that's a home run, and it's good around the neck even, without me doing anything to modify it. So it does have short rows back there, but it's really got a nice feel. And the yarn I used was Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Almanac colorway, and I held it with a strand of silk mohair that was Yoriko Oki's Indigo Constellation colorway. So I've talked about this sweater quite a bit, so I will leave it there, but it's probably one of the ones I reach for the most. So I think what I want to knit most of the time is color work, and what I want to wear tends to be the solid color. So after the holidays, if not before, maybe for my Christmas cast on, I'd love to cast on something with a woolly wool held with mohair, because I love how it feels. Anyway, so one reason I wore it though is because I wanted to talk to you about one of my whips. So this was I was working on the Alpine Bloom, which I'll show you, but I had just gotten to a point where I really had to concentrate, and when I was visiting in the hospital, it just was too much for me. So I decided that I needed color, and I was looking for something where I could use up all my little balls of Noro Silk Garden. So here are some of them. And I decided to bring this because this is one of my Noro Silk Garden shawls that I knit the Noro woven stitch shawl, and I did many of these, which is why I have so much of these little balls of Noro. And I think sometimes I may have cut out portions of it, or I just had lots of leftovers and went with different colors. I had so much fun. I made them for many of my friends, and this one was one of my first, and I just reach for it all the time, and it goes very nicely with this, and with quite a few other things that I have. But you can see the Noro color changing is really fun. This is, as the name suggests, mostly silk. And I do have a label here. I do. It is mostly silk. It is 45% silk, 45% mohair, and only 10% wool. And this is something that I can wear close to skin. I don't think all of my recipients could, but I could wear it close to skin, and I really enjoy it. So when I was looking for, and when I say looking, I'm probably in the hospital doing an obsessive scroll of Instagram and Ravelry. And I found a new pattern by Nora Gaughan. Now, she has a lot of projects. She's written many books. One of them is the Twisted Stitch something, but it's Twisted Stitch, really great book about twisted stitches. And she's done some gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful cable work. So when I saw this, I was like, wow, that's by Nora Gaughan. So here is the pattern, and my printer might be distorting the color. See those stripes? No, they might be her stripes. I don't know. But anyway, here's the pattern. And then you can't see it from there, but the sleeves are quite bell-shaped. And that I probably won't do, just because I find that really annoying. But what I liked about the pattern is all this garter stitch with interspersed at times with some stockinette. And I just looked at it and I thought, stash buster. I mean, even if I didn't use Noro, look at all the colors in there. So I think she uses 1, 2, 3, 4. I think she uses like 4 or 5 colors. And so that made me think of my little balls of Noro. So I cast it on, and I am well underway. So here is the sweater. Now, because I'm using color yarn that changes color, it has a whole different feel than her pattern. And so even though I'm using her numbers for cast on and everything, it does have a whole different feel to it. But this is my Nora. Now it's a cardigan, and I think I'm gonna just take this off real quick and see if I can put on the sweater just to give you a better idea. Now, what I've done is I'm pretty far along on the body, and I decided to do the sleeves next, so I have a better idea. So here I am with this is 1/2 of it, and here's the rest over here. But I think it would be better if I just show you this, if I don't fall apart. So it's got kind of a looser fit. I've got gauge exactly. It feels pretty loose, but maybe because it's designed to make the sleeves in a more bell shape. I've just been pretty random. So my thought process was that I was going to do the brighter colors up here for that yoke up near my face. And then down here, I'm using up many balls of grays, putting in a few little things in there that make it a little more interesting. You can see I've got a little pearl bumps in there, but I can't tell you how this makes my heart sing. And you will not have seen much pink on this podcast, but here I am with a bunch of pink. So anyway, the joy in this is not only do I get to change colors, but I get to eliminate little balls from my stash. So it's pretty. Oh, and the other thing is the neckline is pretty loose, and it ended right about here, and it was so loose, I didn't think it was going to stay on my shoulders. So I picked, because it was garter stitch and not ribbed, it was much easier to pick up stitches, and I have this on a holder waiting to see how long how long that neck will be. But anyway, it is giving me just so much joy to knit this. And even though it's not a solid color, I think I will be reaching for it quite a bit. It's just a gray day pick-me-up sweater. So if you're looking for a stash buster, this pattern, I think, is just the ticket. And I could have also, if I didn't have those extra little balls, which I'll have a million ends to weave in. Some of them I'm weaving in as I go, but I'm going to have lots and lots of those. That'll be a whole long effort. But I have plenty of other just, single skeins that this pattern would be fun with. And I am, because it seems to fit in so nicely, I have it all stashed in my, this is Nora, this felted bag I made many years ago. I have no idea what the pattern is. It was Noro Curion, which is 100% wool, and felted not too badly. But it was my first and only bigger bag felted, and I'd love to do another one, except I don't really enjoy the uncertainty of felting and knitting, doing all that knitting and not really being sure what the outcome will be. I just haven't had the time or the inclination to practice with it enough. Okay, I'm going to put this sweater back on because it's a little chilly in here. Anyway, I've had those balls for a long time, and to my surprise, even making a whole sweater out of it, let me straighten up here, even making a whole sweater out of those extra little balls will not finish off my stash. So I do have quite a few that are in have warmer tones, lighter colors and warmer tones, and so maybe a shawl for a friend who might like some of those colors, something like that maybe. Anyway, great fun, and I bet you have some leftovers in your house. Maybe you can use them up like that. So, okay, that was that one. And then my other whip is this back here. And this is my Alpine Tee by Caitlin Hunter. And here is my yoke. Isn't this great? I am so happy. I talked to you about this in my last episode because I had a false start. I had started the neck was too loose. It was sticking up, looking very funnily. But when I put this on, now I fixed it, and I'm really happy with the yoke. So you can see, just, isn't this great? I've had several people now mention this reminds them of some of the tops from traditional tops from Mexico, the wheat peel, big flowery, with big flowers embroidered, and that's really what I like about this. So this is the Alpine Bloom Tee. Caitlin Hunter also has come out with the Autumn Alpine Bloom, and on that one she doesn't have the little lace collar. but she does have an interesting little neckline. When I saw this, I really wanted it. I wanted the lace collar. I was feeling like I didn't want to wait around, although I could have, it turns out. I knew I was going to make it long sleeve because this is all woolly wool. But one thing I want to point out about it is this is the back, and you do not see any jog. And the reason you don't is the jogging happens, I forget where it is. I think it might be here. I think it's along one of these, and you just can't see it. It's really great. I've never had a sweater where the jog has been absolutely invisible, but so that is fantastic. And so where I am is I need to decide if the moment has come to break. Oh, I should say also, I was going to modify the pattern here and not put the other repeat and just maybe add another diamond down here. I even tried embroidering it on there. That kind of looked funky. I'm not going to give up on the concept of the embroidery, but for this it looked kind of weird, and I think I am probably going to rip out what I did, just this little section here, and finish the chart as she wrote it. The reason I was thinking of changing it is I'm so short, and I do kind of like the yokes to end above the biggest part, but anyway, still under discussion in my mind. Okay, so what I want to tell you about, though, the other thing I want to tell you about is the yarn I used. I'm using two yarns. The Colorwork yarn I've raved about in the past. It's Feederbrook Farm Entropy DK. It's non-superwash, 100% blue-faced Leicester. As you can see, vibrant colors, and it's not superwash, so obviously possible. And if I had used Shetland wool, I'd have brilliant color, and that's not superwash either. So it is all possible. Love this yarn. It feels really soft. It's just great. And I'm using the Event Horizon colorway, which is exactly what I used for my Pressed Flowers cardigan. And it looks absolutely completely different in the cardigan. Also, the camera really pops up the contrast between the colors, but it's not quite as dramatic in the in real life. And the floats, you get all that color there. So I just wanted to show you how different it looks with the pressed flowers. Okay, the other yarn I'm using here is the Jamieson & Smith 2-ply fingering weight yarn, and it's from a cone I bought, shade 36. That is this one here with quite a bit of it wound off, and it's a navy blue. So I just want to tell you about okay, and this is why I wanted my notes, but I think I know it by heart, so I'm going to just go ahead. So the issue that came up for me was as I started knitting, I didn't notice it too much when I was doing the color work. The Entropy is technically a DK. I feel like it's not quite a DK for me. I've used it before to substitute for sport weight yarn. I feel like it works. Everything's fine. I have blocked this, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So I know that the DK worked fine with the fingering, but it's the nature of the DK. But as I got into knitting this part, I started feeling like, wow, this feels so stringy compared to the usual Jamieson and Smith that you get in the balls. So I started, now I have heard, they say that it's because of the spinning oil, which I knew, and that you just, after you wash it out, then it blooms. And, you know, they say that about many things, and I've always wondered, and sometimes I think my expectations have been too high about what is meant by a yarn blooming. Sometimes it doesn't bloom quite as much as I had hoped. And so anyway, I was really curious. Now, of course, I had done a swatch, but could not find the swatch. And so I was wondering about it. So I redid it, and I did one in a different colorway, which is another one I have in my stash. Same yarn, also on a cone. And I'm really happy with how it blooms. And it really does bloom. I feel this is me knitting on size 3 needles. I'm a loose knitter, so a lot of people wouldn't want to knit on 3s, but for me, this yarn really turns out nicely, and I get gauge, which is 24 stitches for 4 inches, so about 6 stitches to the inch, and all is well. But as I'm roaming around the internet looking up about the bloom on the cones, I come across some information directly from the Jamieson and Smith website, which I will link below, and read all this about the cones. And so what they say on their website is, you know, after washing, it'll feel very much like, just like the other Jamieson and Smith. I'm pointing over here because that's where I store it. But they say quite clearly is you must wash the spinning oil out. It is not intended to be close to your skin. Now, I didn't mind knitting with it straight from the cone, and my hands were getting quite beautifully softened from the oil, and it doesn't stink or anything. It's, you know, it's very innocuous, but they say that it should be washed in hot water with soap, with something that you use to get the oil out. So the first time you wash it with hot water, not boiling, hot water, and then when you later, when you wash it again, you do your regular thing, probably not hot. Mostly I don't do hot. I might do like lukewarm to cool, but anyway, you only do the hot water at the first time you wash it. But that raised the question for me, and then they immediately went into this, is if I wash it in hot water, is it going to bleed, especially a dark color like this? And they do say that we would only urge caution if you are knitting with a strong color like blue, black, red. So you should test it to see if it bleeds, because if you're holding it next to a light color, there might be a little bit of bleeding. So I did a number of things. I ended up, in that case, they suggest you might want to wind it off the cone and wash it. So I actually ended up doing that. So much of my cone is now in, you can't see very well. It's not purple. It is definitely navy blue here. And so I took some off in a hank. Look how purple it's so funny. Anyway, and washed it. So the first thing I did is I washed this gray swatch, no bleeding. Then I washed this hank, not really any bleeding. Then I thought this hank is not enough to know. So I ended up winding off a good portion of it. I probably have enough here to make most of the sweater. I wound it in hanks. If you do this, by the way, make bigger hanks than I did, because this does not fit on a Swift, or just barely, and it's awkward, and don't do that. So I'm just educating you based on my own miserable mistakes, but it wasn't that miserable. But anyway, I had quite a few hanks. I washed it in hot water, and I used Dawn dishwashing detergent. Now, that's because I think of Dawn, which I keep a separate little bottle. I don't use it for my dishes, actually. Excuse me. But I have a little bottle of Dawn that I keep under the sink just as a stain remover, because it is the best grease remover I've ever come across. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get oil out of something, that would be the most effective thing I can think of. So, but I think any kind of soap, even your, your regular wool washes, Gaughan or various other ones, would be fine, I'm sure. But anyway, I did hot soap, very hot water, and it bled a lot. I just put all these hanks of this in the sink, and my white sink was very blue. But sometimes when it bleeds, it doesn't mean it really has the capacity anymore to dye anything. It doesn't mean there's enough dye in the water. But what they were saying is the dye clings to the oil, and so that's why when the oil is coming out, some of the dye comes with it. So that's their explanation. So anyway, it bled like crazy. So then I was in this situation where I had done this yoke, and it was like, oh, what is it going to do? So finally I thought, well, I don't want to reknit the yoke. So what I ended up doing, and also you notice that even this is not white. This is actually a pale blue. And also this is not white. This is a pale purpley blue. So I thought even if it dyed, it probably wouldn't be too bad. I washed this in hot water with the Dawn, and actually it hardly bled at all, probably because it's mostly the Entropy decay in here. I think there's just so much Entropy here. So anyway, that was my risky thing that I did, but I was very happy with it. And now I do have all this yarn. It has bloomed quite a bit. I don't think you can really see the difference that much from the cone. Maybe, yeah, I think maybe you can. I don't think so. I don't think it's, but the top one is the cone. The bottom one is the after washing yarn. But it does feel fuller. It'll be more enjoyable to knit with, probably. And I'm still a big fan of these cones, which are 2,500 yards. And it's just a lot of yarn. The price has gone up. I think it's something like $72 or something. But for 2,500 yards in a basic color like this, I do have shade 81, the famous 81 that they've mentioned a lot on Woolly Thistle. It's a dark charcoal, beautiful color, and I may well wind it off and do the same thing with washing it. So when I get around to knitting that. Okay, I think that is it. I think I'm going to say, okay, I hopefully will have, I don't know if I actually will have one of these sweaters finished by my next podcast. I'm hoping to do another podcast before sooner than usual, because I'm expecting to have a few holiday items to talk about. One of those, so I'm thinking, I'm not the kind of person who starts knitting in the summer and being really good on gifts, but aside from baby sweaters. But this time of year, I do long to make a few gift items. So one thing that I thought came upon recently, this is the DRK Everyday Cowl by Andrea Mowry. It calls for a DK weight yarn, and it's knit flat, and that's not my normal thing, but it's knit flat and then seamed. But there's some fun things in here. She has some tutorials that come with it. She has a mattress stitch tutorial, an I-cord edge tutorial, managing colors with a slip stitch edge, and the I-cord bind off. And then she has a whole section. I didn't copy it out because I'm not using it, but she has a whole section on fading it. Also, the reason I was drawn to this is that the pattern is for toddlers, youths, adult small, adult large. So you could use, and it could be a real big stash buster, because you could hold fingering weight double and get the DK. And so, you know, you could do fabulous things with fading. So if you're looking, and so she has all the instructions on the fade. If you've never done a fade, that would be a way to do an entree into that. And what I'm thinking of using, so I am using these two colors together, and I'll stripe them. And I've been wanting to use this for just the longest time. It's just okay, so what are they, you're wondering? Kathy, what are you showing me? I got both of these at my local yarn store. This is the Dream in, it will not come out, but it's Classy. And it's 100% superwash, 250 yards. And that's this one, and I'm pretty sure the other one, so that's this one right here, and this one is a mystery. This is a mystery. It is not the Dream, I'm pretty sure, and it is also superwash. They really go together. It's also DK. They have a nice feel, and I've been hoping to do this for a while. So anyway, okay, one more thing. Oh, and another thing, these are some of the colors I have left over from the baby sweaters, and I also have a bunch of this color, so I'm thinking of putting some of these together with some baby hats. So I'm thinking of possibly a Tin Can Knits hat pattern. I think would be nice with those different colors. So those are things I'm thinking about. I also have looked into mitts, but I'm not sure how far I'm going to go. So I don't think everybody will get a hand knitted something, but some people will. So we'll see. Also, there's some January and March birthdays, and those always give the opportunity to do a finish up if you are thinking of knitting for somebody. Okay, let me put this back here so I have a little more space. And I think, I had two more things I want to tell you. One is I signed up for a newsletter with Making Stories. And they are a yarn company. They have a blog, they have a podcast, and they sell yarn in Europe. I'm pretty sure they're based in Germany. And they specialize in sustainable fibers. And they have very good information on their blog about sustainability if you're interested. That's how I think I discovered them that way, and then on Instagram and so forth. And they had come out with a nice magazine a couple times a year. Anyway, I signed up for the newsletter because I wanted to get the information about sustainability, and it's a good way to see some of the newer yarns that come their way. They are in Europe, so maybe I don't know how much I will order from them, but they're a great source of information, and the magazine's lovely. Anyway, when I signed up, the reason I'm telling you this is I signed up for the newsletter, and to my surprise, they had a gift with it, and they allowed me to pick out a digital copy of one of their past issues. And one of their past issues had gorgeous issue 5 of Making Stories has gorgeous cabled arms on one of the sweaters. I think it's on the cover. So I was delighted to get that. I'd show it to you, but it's digital. If you are thinking you might want to sign up for their newsletter, that is an extra little bonus that you could get. So I love that. And finally, my last thing is oh my gosh, I've read all kinds of things. I read a very, very long mystery story. Fortunately, it was on my Kindle, so I didn't suffer as much as I might from one of those big fat books. But right now I'm reading a book. It's over 700 pages. I'm sure I'll tell you about it when I finish it. I don't want to go into it now, but I am kind of dragging. I needed a quick treat, and I found this book in the one of the I found it at a bookstore that has a lot of remaindered books. Yeah, it's remaindered. You can see the mark. The title is A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian by Marina, Lewycka. And I'm going to read to you what they have on the cover, which comes from the first paragraph of the book. 2 years after my mother died, my father fell in love with a glamorous blonde Ukrainian divorcee. He was 84 and she was 36. She exploded into our lives like a fluffy pink grenade. let me just see if I can finish it. A fluffy pink grenade churning up the murky water, bringing to the surface a sludge of sloughed off memories, giving the family ghosts a kick up the backside. Anyway, the author is, I believe, Ukrainian. And is there something back here? No, it's nothing on here that says anything about her history, but I'm pretty sure I looked her up. And she is from Ukraine herself. This was written, it was nominated for the Man Booker. And she wrote it in 2005. So, easy to find book, probably. Maybe your book, maybe your library, very inexpensive, and a charming story. It was, it is not about tractors, but one of the characters is writing a book about tractors, in the history of tractors in Ukrainian. And it's quite charming. It's filled with lots of love. And if you need a nice diversion, well-written, quick diversion, that would be a fun one. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Whenever I finish, there's always a moment where I think, did I actually talk about everything? I think I covered most of what I wanted. I'm hoping to veer off from some of the work I'm doing. Right now, I'm really focusing on the Olivia Bell very colorful pink sweater. It's on size 6 needles. It's just zooming along, and that's the most likely to be finished by the end of the year. But I am also hoping to get some accessories in as gifts for others. And of course, I have many plans on the horizon that I'm looking forward to talking to you about next time. If you are in the States and you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you have a delightful time. Thanksgiving can look very different to different people. I know most of us don't look just like the Norman Rockwell paintings where grandma usually is slaved over the turkey. It can look many different ways, and I hope however it comes to you, you can embrace it as it comes. It's my favorite holiday because it's all about eating, and usually most people have some time during that holiday after Thursday. Certainly the Saturday and Sunday, a lot of people have that off. So it always feels like a time where you can just kick back. And many of my favorite ones are when there were quite a few of us who had the whole 4 days off, and there's not much pressure. You don't have the gift pressure. You don't have as much in history about how it's supposed to be. Once the turkey is eaten, if you eat turkey, and some of us don't in our family, but once that is finished, then it's just kickback fun time. And I'm hoping there'll be some long walks and playing with babies. So maybe I'll take Ellie back here, and I'd like to see if she can help me wind some yarn. That would be fun. So anyway, if you're celebrating, I hope you have a grand old time. And if you're not, I hope you're finding some pleasure as the season is really quiet before it's getting dark, and before we start celebrating the end of the year. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I love your comments. So, oh, I did forget to say that I've met a few viewers at Sacred Sheep. That was so great. I'm glad they stopped and talked to me. And particularly Gail, I wanted to tell you that I was dreaming about your Elton cardigan or Elton sweater that you were wearing. So good. All right, everybody. Have a great time until I see you next, and happy knitting.